This is Danny Perschonok with Blizzplanet. I'm here with Jeromy, the founder of Extra Life. Thanks for taking the time to sit with us.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a handful of questions about Extra Life. So the first one is, how was Extra Life born?
Extra Life was born in memory of a friend of mine. She was 15 years old when she passed away from leukemia. I was a radio personality in Houston and had been doing this radiothon for several years with Tori. And Victoria just kind of burrowed into my heart and changed the way I looked at a lot of things, including my career. And when Tori passed away, there was a hole there, and I put sort of the word out to the friends and family around me and my gaming community, Sarcastic Gamer, and said, hey, can you guys help us with this? Can you help us, do something in memory of Tori? And so we set out to raise $10,000 for Texas Children's Hospital, which is the hospital that treated Tori when she was sick. And crazy stuff started happening, and 1,200 gamers came out of the woodwork and raised $120,000.
Oh, wow.
That very first year. And it was just fascinating. It was amazing, and it was the first inkling, like, this is something.
Yeah.
Like this, there's something here. And so the next year we did it again, and we raised $170,000, and we started to hear from people like, hey, I want to help, I want to keep doing this, but I'm sending this money to Texas, and I live in Spokane, and I want to be able to help kids around me. I want to do it in Tori's name, but I'm going to start Extra Life here. And so in 2010, I actually donated the intellectual property of Extra Life to Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Oh, okay.
In a letter of agreement with our CEO, John Locke, and John committed to helping me grow this program in Tori's memory. And that year, we went from $170,000 to $465,000. The next year we went to $1 million, the next $2 million, the next $4 million. Last year $6 million, $6.2 million was raised for 170 children's hospitals. The little girl's legacy, she would have been 23 this year.
That's amazing.
And her legacy just keeps growing.
That's such a great story. I mean, somebody that you knew, you took it and you just formed this amazing foundation that, I mean, how many people participate in Extra Life every year?
This past year we had 50,000. This year we're expecting over 100,000.
Wow. I guess just real quick then, for those that don't know, can you, what is Extra Life? Right?
Sure. Yeah, so that was actually one of the hardest parts for me when I was first sharing the Extra Life story with folks, when I was trying to get people on board to get this thing started, was the objection in the room was, no one's going to pay you to play video games. No one's going to donate money so you can play video games. I would venture to say they were wrong.
A little bit.
But it's really not an original model. If you think about it, it's just like a run or a walk or a bike ride, except there's the caloric output is zero, right? You can sit on your couch and you sign up. You create your own personal fundraising page. Mm-hmm. You get friends and family. You send out the notes. You bug people on Facebook, send out emails, say, hey, come to my page, make a donation. And then on November 7th this year, we're going to sit down for what should be a 24-hour game marathon. Well, actually 25, because it's the day we set clocks back. So the 25 hours of play celebrating what gamers have done all year long on behalf of local kids. And all the money you raise stays where it's raised. Okay. So wherever you live, whatever hospital you choose to support, out of the 170 Children's Miracle Network hospitals across the United States and Canada, the funds you raise will help your local kids in your neighborhood, down your street, probably kids that go to school with your kids if you have kids.
Right.
I mean, this isn't like, hey, we're going to do something nice and just kind of throw money into the ethos and think good things are probably happening. You're going to literally throw money across the street at your local hospital and watch as a neonatal intensive care unit is built, or watch as a child and their family who have no insurance are able to get world-class care for their child who has a cancer diagnosis. Awesome. It's visible, palpable miracles that are happening because gamers are getting involved.
That's awesome. That's such great news. So is it as simple as just going to the website and signing up if you want to, start an Extra Life stream or whatever?
Oh, so yeah, signing up takes about, I think we timed it out at 90 seconds. So it's extra-life.org, and you put in a few details. You can start a team. If if you want. You can get all your friends to join your team.
Okay.
They don't all have to play for the same hospital. You can have 50 people on your team.
Okay.
And they could be playing for 50 different hospitals. You'll still have your team results. So you sign up, either join a team, start a team, or just do it on your own. That's cool too. And start collecting donations. If you can't do it on November 7th, we're like, do it when you can.
Right.
And it's not just video games, board games, tabletop. I mean, all kinds of things.
Okay.
You can do anything that's interesting to you. The idea behind Extra Life is do what you love and do it to help kids, help local kids, right? And then you mentioned streaming. So a lot of people do stream, and there's sort of this misconception that it is a streaming thing.
Okay.
Streaming is something that people are just doing as part of their resourcefulness to get the word out.
Right.
At its core, though, most Extra Lifers, and I mean 90+% of them, I'm pretty convinced are participating on their own couch, playing whatever they want. Some of them in their underwear. This might be the only fundraiser you can do in your underwear, right? But if you want to stream and you want to take it to that level, that's awesome too. Last year and the year before, Extra Life Day, our big game day, was the #1 content generation day for Twitch.
Oh, wow.
Of the whole year. And
That's
think
amazing.
about all the E3. I mean,
exactly.
The #1 content generation day for Twitch was that day. I think we generated amongst the whole community like 7 years worth of video that you would have to watch. It would take you 7 years to watch it in one day.
That's phenomenal.
So cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear because, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty connected and I know what Extra Life is, but I kind of always saw it as just a streaming thing. So hearing that it's not, I mean, logically, it doesn't have to be, but I that's definitely the misconception that I had was that you need to stream for 24 hours or do this and that. So I think that's a really good thing to have, and hopefully clear that up with people, because hopefully that gets even more people involved, because streaming is a little scary for some people. So I mean,
what it is, the answer to the question really is, what do you want it to be?
Right.
If someone says, "What's Extra Life?" What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? When do you want to do it?
Right.
Where do you want to do it? With whom? You can do it. It's open source fundraising, which is a marketing nightmare.
Yeah.
It's so hard to spread the word about Extra Life because it's kind of hard to put it in a package. But it is that simple. It's, what do you want to do? What do you like doing? And who do you want to do it for?
No, but I really like to hear that, because that makes me want to be even more involved. I've just donated to people that I know that are doing it, but knowing that I don't have to stream, I could easily do an Extra Life campaign, and I feel like I know enough people that I can get word of mouth out there too. So that's really good to hear. And
Sure.
I'm really happy to hear that.
This went dark. I just want to make sure it's still rolling.
Yep, it is.
Cool.
No worries. Okay, are there any special tools or anything to make donations interactive, or any I mean, I guess this really kind of goes back to the streaming thing, or any plans to develop anything to help people with that? Or, I mean, how does that work? Is it strictly through your website now, or?
Yeah, so there are a couple ways that people collect money. Most people do the traditional, build their fundraising page, send out a link, and their friends come to their page, and it donates in, and their thermometer goes up, and they go closer to their goal. We also offer offline donations too. So there's a lady in North Carolina who does her fundraising. She doesn't have the biggest social network online, but she works in an office as a lot of people. And so the way she does it is she literally collects cash. She bakes brownies, puts them out, puts a cup saying, "Hey, donate to my Extra Life account and take a brownie." And I think she raised $700 last year on brownies. Wow. So basically, she turned Extra Life into a bake sale. But it works for her. And then you can just send in offline money to our accounting team. There's stuff built into the back end. We try to keep it fun and fresh. We don't want the experience to be stale. Every year we want to give you a little something new.
Absolutely.
And so last year we introduced an achievement system. This year we're introducing some really cool reward systems that instantly kick out a digital code for a game every time you pass a certain fundraising threshold. And then we've got some cool partners like Tryon World and PlayStation and Ubisoft and several that are going to be supplying us with some of these codes that people can use. I'd like to see it next go to like music. Maybe you get a cool music download or something. Every time you reach out and you speak up for us, there's a company somewhere that would be willing to step up and say, "Hey, good job here."
Well, it makes me I work for a big company, and so I wonder if I did this. I know they have a lot of matching stuff, right?
Sure.
And so I'm wondering if I did my own, if they would match whatever I earned for the same cause. So
that's a lot of money. I think we raised almost $400,000 in matching funds last year.
That's awesome. So that's something that I'm definitely going to go back to my bosses about and say, hey, this is aside from the website I'm doing this work for, but my actual career, and say, hey, if I do this, what kind of matching would you guys do? Or maybe they would even just make a flat donation. So
and maybe they let HR would use it as a way to get everybody who's interested to do it.
We could start a team for my company. There's plenty of people that are gamers too, and so I definitely am going to take this back and talk to some.
That would be awesome. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And remember that when you ask someone for a donation, the average donation that we've gotten for years has been $35.
Okay.
If you ask someone to join, the average person raises $100.
Wow.
So by building your team, you actually do more good than just the fundraising. So what I do every year is I just try to build my team out until about 2 weeks out.
Okay.
And then I go into annoy everyone mode for money to build up my fundraising. The problem is for me is everyone I know is now doing Extra Life.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm actually not even on the leaderboard anymore. It's like I'm getting my butt kicked by a 14-year-old kid in Indiana.
I guess that's a good problem to have.
That's a great problem to have. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So when it's all over, what happens to the donations? How does it work to get those to the hospital or whatever that I sign up for or whoever?
Great question. So one of the core tenets of Children's Miracle Network hospitals is the money stays where it's raised. Okay. So the money comes into the Extra Life system on a quarterly basis. Our Children's Miracle Network hospitals overall, which is our parent, of this program, we disperse those funds directly to the hospitals in total. They get all their money is sent to them in a big disbursement check, I think quarterly, pretty sure. Yeah. So and so then they'll have their Extra Life money. It'll also have like money because we're partners with Walmart and Walmart supports us, and Dairy Queen and Marriott and Delta, any other funds that have come in for that hospital. One big quarterly check goes to that hospital.
Oh wow.
And the funds are for the needs of the hospital. I think another thing that makes Extra Life a little bit different is there are a lot of really amazing causes out there that are very specific in what the money has to be used for, and we're specific in that you can't use it to throw a party for the nurses or something like that. Right. It has to go towards saving the lives of children, but that means different things in different communities. And in West Texas, up until several years ago, there was no neonatal intensive care unit anywhere in West Texas.
Okay.
And it's the oil town way out there. Babies were being born, and they weren't making it all the way to Dallas, which was the closest NICU.
Wow, okay.
And Children's Miracle Network Hospital's funds built the NICU at the medical center in Odessa. If you walk in there, and I've toured that place, it's so amazing. It chokes me up when I see it because there's all these little isolettes for these babies that were born prematurely, and every single one of them has our little balloon on it.
That's awesome.
And that's so cool.
What a great story.
Yeah. But they already have that in Chicago, but they might be leading the way in research there.
Right.
And so that's why we don't say, well, you have to use it for cancer research, because Odessa can't use that.
Absolutely.
But they need a NICU.
Yeah.
So it's really the needs of the hospital. A lot of the funds we raise help kids whose families have no money. Yeah. They have no insurance, and they need the same world-class care. They need the same cancer drugs and treatments and phase 3 clinical trials, whatever. They need access to all that stuff. And so that's why when you visit one of our hospitals, it's not like, how are you going to, the first question out of their mouth is, how do you plan to pay for this?
Yeah.
The first question out of their mouth is what's wrong? How can we help? Let's get this taken care of. We'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
And that's why I get up and go to work every day.
Definitely. That's awesome. It really is. So how does one find out about their local Children's Miracle Network hospital?
That's a great question too. So we have, when you go to register for Children's Miracle Network, or for Extra Life, when you go to register for Extra Life, we'll have you select your local hospital. If you don't know what your local hospital is, you don't know the name of it, or maybe there's some folks like Dallas and Fort Worth, we have a couple there.
Yeah.
There's a locator tool during registration, so you can put in your zip code and find the one nearest you. And then from there, you can actually jump straight into Children's Miracle, cmnhospitals.org, and read a profile on your local hospital and link over to that hospital and do your research. And I encourage everyone to do that. I think if I was about to give half a year of my life to raising money for a children's hospital, I would want to know everything about it,
Absolutely.
And so I think people should do their research and pick the hospital that lines up with either their local community, if that's what you're into, or maybe cerebral palsy is something important to you and you want to find one of our hospitals to support that is doing research and development against cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So yeah, that's actually no one's ever asked that question before. I think it's super important that people take the time to educate themselves as a part of this. not something you might wake up on a Monday thinking, I'm going to research a children's hospital.
Right.
But the more you find out about it, and the more you read the stories of the kids that are being affected,
right.
I think the more passionate you become, the better extra lifer you become.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's something that I would definitely, I live in Orange County, so the first thing that comes to mind is chalk. Right? That's the big one. But, I recently actually got diagnosed with arthritis. And so, I mean, it'd be interesting to look and see what maybe local, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis centers maybe are part of this network. And, I could use my own experiences and help with that. So that's something I think
you could advocate for that. That would be interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
There are a lot of folks, especially in like the visible folks that are writing articles and doing podcasts and stuff, that they even move from hospital to hospital each year because of something that's important to them.
Yeah.
Or they let their readers decide which hospital that they're going to support,
idea.
and so it kind of enrolls the readers in that as well.
That's very cool. Yeah. I know you kind of touched on this on the intro, but what are some of the most rewarding achievements since the launch of Extra Life? For you or for the company, organization?
For me, we have an event every year, Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. It's called Momentum, and it takes place in Orlando. And this is a humongous event where we bring in what are called our champion kids. There's one from each of the 50 states, each of the Canadian provinces, from Puerto Rico, from Washington, D.C., and Delta Airlines flies them in to Orlando. Disney puts them up in the resort. Walmart sends some of their star associates and their VPs, and they all come down to this thing. We had 65 extra lifers come down to this thing. Basically, somewhere around 1,600 people that come to Orlando for this event called Momentum. And we have this thing called a medal ceremony. These kids, they're called our champions because they've beaten horrible things that would make you and I, frankly, assholes.
Yeah.
If we had to go through that, we would come out on the other side going, man, things suck, and these kids come out like champs. And those kids also, though, in many cases, because of what they've been through, they're never going to get to hit a home run for real. Like, they're never going to be running the touchdown on the football field. Many of them have been through, but they're as much a champion as that sports athlete.
Yeah.
And so we celebrate them as the champions they are. We have the Osmonds, we have John Schneider, and all these other celebrities that come down. And each of these kids gets their name called. Each of these kids comes across the stage in front of thousands of people and gets cheered for, gets a medal around their neck. And I'm telling you, dude, you see that, you ain't got no problems.
Yeah, that sounds like amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and
this year, for the first time, we got to bring extra lifers in, and we did a gaming tournament where they competed for their local hospital.
Okay.
The winning hospital, the guy, his name's Sevidus, he's a streamer on Twitch. He won $90,000 for Kapiolani Children's Hospital in Honolulu. And what was really crazy is we have all these wonderful, big-hearted CMN Hospitals celebrities that always come to our event. It was the Twitch celebrities that the kids were like, "Oh my God, it's Captain Sparkles!" Like, it was,
Yeah.
they were just freaking out, and to me it was just so like, yeah, that's right. These are
awesome.
the new celebrities,
Absolutely.
gamers, man.
Yeah.
And so that was a moment for me. Not just momentum's always a moment, but the moment when I realized, like, we're introducing our organization to something completely new,
right?
And a new type of celebrity, a new type of way to raise funds, and so that's really, for me, it's just been the coolest thing is waking up in this constant state of shock every day. I wake up and go, oh, it's still happening. It's still working. It's still growing. Like, when is this going to peter off? Like, this is so crazy. So
that's amazing.
That's a very long answer to your question.
No, that's a great answer, especially, and it kind of touches on the fact of just how our generation and the internet has changed things for kids. I mean, so many kids are just watching YouTube, and this, as opposed to watching TV, or, like you said, pick up a Twitch stream, and they know the popular person. So seeing them in person, that's their, modern day sitcom celebrity that, growing up, we may have freaked out about.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's really cool to hear, just how things have changed like that. That's awesome. So, okay, next, what are your goals throughout 2015? Anything that you're trying to do differently or accomplish this year that you haven't in the past?
I think one of the most important things for us to do is to remember to keep things fresh for our participants. And we've got a few goals that center around creating tools to allow our participants to get even more creative with their fundraising.
Okay.
So it can be, maybe it's overlays for streams, or it is some new tools that they can take into their workplace or to their friends and leverage them for donations, but also creating some API or JSON access to the site to allow our gamers to take their own data, their fundraising data, and use it in different ways. I want to take the experience of being an Extra Lifer, even possibly the experience of making a donation, and make it portable. I don't mean portable on your phone, which would also be cool. I mean, stick it on your website, stick it on your Facebook page, be able to do that. I don't know how much we'll get done this year, but we're working towards it, and we're just charging forward in trying to open up these avenues, because I think once we crowdsource the creative use of data, as boring as that sounds, gamers are going to do some crazy stuff we would never have thought of. We might have to reel some of them in, but I'd rather do that than push people forward or try to light up Sparkler and get them excited about a new sticker we put on the site. I'd rather celebrate what they do and create like a repository of their tools that they built so that everyone can share.
The second you have an API, people will build it, man. I mean, that's in this day and age with just how accessible the internet is for that kind of thing. Once it's there, somebody's going to come up with something.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's awesome. So is that not on the roadmap for this year, or?
It's sort of already done.
Okay.
But there are some issues that we're running into with it. Just we want to make sure it's ironed out, because the other problem is our community is very resourceful, and they might start learning to do things we didn't want them to do with that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we may end up testing this a little bit longer before we make it public.
I'm an engineer, so I
completely
understand that, and especially when you're...
We were excited. We're like, this is cool. And someone was like, yeah, but couldn't they also do this? And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of those moments myself, so I completely understand. Okay, so a little bit change of gears here. So, we are a Blizzard fan site, so I have to ask a couple questions around that. So have you heard or played of Blizzard's new game, Heroes of the Storm?
I have not. I've seen the commercials for it.
Okay.
It looks pretty rad, but I have not played it.
Okay. It's fairly new, but it's a lot of fun. I don't know if you like MOBA games at all. But...
Well, so MOBA games, and I do not have a great history. I've tried League of Legends and been completely destroyed every time I do it. Then I had a friend of mine said he was going to help me learn to play it. It almost tore our friendship apart because I kept doing the wrong thing and not getting his back or whatever I'm supposed to be doing. And it's so much happening so quickly in MOBAs that I have a hard time keeping up with it. And I also, as I get older, I have less time to invest. And that's almost like, that's something you have to practice, man. It's just like, if you want to be a good baseball player, you got to go swing the bat. If you want to be a good mobile player, it seems to me, you got to spend a lot of time doing it. And 3 kids, it's difficult for me to get the time to invest.
No, you're right. And I'm probably similar to you in the sense that a friend of mine tried to get me into League, and it was so overwhelming. Whereas Heroes, I got in a little bit early into one of the alphas, but so did my friends, and it felt like it was a lot more newbie friendly and not so punishing if you didn't know exactly what you were doing. Definitely has more of a team feel to it. The whole team working together. So
I'll try it.
Yeah,
I'll give it a shot. I just got my first gaming computer in 6 years. I've been on consoles.
Okay.
And my birthday present this year is I got a gaming computer, and so it's sitting at the house right now, probably glowing blue and pulsing, waiting for me to get back to it, and I will try it. I will give it a shot.
It's fun.
All right, cool.
So would you like to see the Heroes gaming community engage in Extra Life streams? I guess that's kind of a
my gosh, yes, of course.
Especially with how big Heroes is. So
can you imagine what the structure of that might be for like the game day?
Right.
How that could be laid out.
Good tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah, you guys could have some fun. And Blizzard's actually been a supporter of ours in the past. I think they took last year off, but the year before that they created a $120,000 gaming challenge. So basically the hospital, the gamers who raised the most money for their hospital got an extra $60,000, and then a couple places were paid, but that money was actually given to us as a donation from Blizzard from some kind of weird thing that happened in Diablo with the gold, where people were scamming the system, and they seized it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they seized it, and then they were like, we don't want to keep it because we're seizing. I mean, it looks like we're just taking money from someone. So they called me up on a Friday. It was literally a margarita in my hand. I was like, it is Friday. I'm done. And my phone rings, and I'm like, put the margarita down. This is big.
Yeah.
And so Blizzard came in big for us that year. It was the Diablo 3 challenge, is what it was called. It was 2 years ago.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Glad to hear it. Well, that's just about it. So, any final words for the Blizzard community from our site, or anything that you'd like to say?
I know the Blizzard fan base is a very passionate one, and I think there would be nothing more binding or fun for that community to do than to get together as a group and just decide to rock our faces off with Extra Life this year, to find a thread to pull everybody together around this, create a team, or maybe create a group of teams, east, west, north, south, or by the game you play, or whatever it is.
Right.
And as competitive as we can get online, let's get competitive against each other on maybe fundraising and what we can do for our local children's hospital. Remember, you don't have to everyone on the team doesn't have to pick the same hospital. You can have 50 people on a team and 50 different hospitals selected on that team. So, but we can get together and we can all have an impact locally. And I would just love to see the Blizzard community embrace this year and make this the first of many years of miracles that we make for the kids.
Well, I definitely think the Blizzard community is one that bands together around causes and helping people. So, and they're very passionate, as you said. So, I definitely think that sounds like
fingers crossed. Yep. Come on, guys, we need you.
Well, you educated me on. I am familiar with Extra Life, but I learned a lot that I didn't even know, and so I think this is good information to get out there to people. And I thank you so much for your time. And I'm probably going to see if I can do my own this year. So,
thanks, Daniel.
Thanks so much.